Hello and welcome to this special update video looking at this, the ACE3 Digital Controller. In this video we're going to be looking at the progress of the project, where it's currently up to, looking at this actual model here, which is one of the demonstration models to show off some of the features. We're going to look at what actual technical specs it's got and some information and updates from the creator of this controller, Mr. Signatrak himself, Fraser. So where are we on this project? Well, unfortunately it's been delayed, as we know. A few things with component pieces being a problem, and development of the firmware. Pleasingly, the hardware development is pretty much complete, and now we are waiting for the parts of this controller to start arriving so that we can begin assembly. On the firmware side, the actual what we could call software that's on the machine, this one is loaded with quite a lot of the new features. One of the biggest ones, of course, is, unlike the ACE2, this model has a full touchscreen as opposed to part touchscreen and part pre-printed buttons on it. So it gives a lot more space to do things. What new features can we expect from this model? Well, first of all, uprated power supply. We're looking at 6 amps. Next, we've got let's say the full screen. One of the biggest areas that's going to be looked at, or two big areas that will be looked at. One is the locomotive lists. So whereas before you had to remember numbers and select the numbers, on the right hand side of the controller here you had numerical keypad. This will be able to be changed at will to show a locomotive list, so you can scroll through your locomotives. Further, the accessory control, always been a bugbear on all controllers. Normally you have to remember a number, key in that number, and select thrown or closed, 1 or 2, whatever the terminology is used on that particular handset. Very slow and laborious. Much better to have something like a control panel like this. However, on the ACE3 there's going to be a control panel mode, where, a bit like some software you can get online, like iTrain, and even things like the ECOS controller, you'll be able to draw your track diagram on the screen and change points by looking at the diagram. So this will all be on the actual controller itself. It's still got its 4 ports at the back, so you can connect the driver handset. It will be compatible with the basic driver handset, but there is plans for an advanced version, which means that you won't have to keep going back to the base station to assign locos to the handset. You're going to do it on an actual handset. This is a future product, obviously. The USB port means that you're going to be able to link it to your computer like the ACE2, and computer control is being checked out and looked at to see how this can best be integrated with that. One of the things as well that's on the ACE2 and the ACE3 is there's an upgrade slot, and one of the main big upgrades for this is going to be the LocoNet module to allow you to communicate with LocoNet products. For example, the other Signatrak products there are with the control panel controller, the Digital Towermaster, which ironically powers this board here, and the digital accessory decoder, the DAC22, have all got LocoNet ports, but they've never been able to communicate with the controller from Signatrak. This will change with this handset, with this controller. It won't come with it built in, it will be an optional upgrade module, because not everybody needs that ability, but that will be available in the near future as well. Going back to firmware and what's going to be preloaded onto this, for the initial release it's going to have some of the new features on it. One of the features that it probably won't have immediately on release is the control panel mode, as that's being worked on in more detail, but it's important that the product gets out there so people can start using it, and when this becomes available it'll be a free download, link it to the computer and update it, or if people don't have that facility they'll be able to send it back to us at no cost for it to be upgraded to the latest version with that particular control panel mode on. Going to have a little look at it working, so going to hook this up to our test track here, put a loco on and show you some of the features. Some of them are very similar to the ACE2, but then I'm going to talk through where the new feature is going to come in and how that's going to work. Okay, so this is the ACE3 as it will come on when you use it. Notice now no buttons on here that are pre-printed. It's all proper touchscreen and screen. Some of the things that are going to be coming on here then, so just to explain where we are, we're currently in panel drive mode. Here's the panel, here's your slider for speed, direction, you can increment up and down, you can select your loco with the name on there. You've got your functions 0 to 4, but you can press more to get more functions up to 28. On the right hand side here is your numeric keypad, and this is where the area is going to be able to be changed, so you'll be able to flick between that and having a train list on there. So when you tap the button, up will come your list of locomotives. You'll be able to scroll up and down and select them instantly without having to remember numbers. Very useful. You've got a track power button just here, so you can turn the track power off. I'm not sure if you can see, but it says power off there. Very good for putting things on the track, and then tap it again to turn the power back on. At the top you've got a current drawer, which is quite useful to see just how much you're using of the overall supply, especially when locomotives start off. Just here then, the emergency stop. Emergency stop is quite good. It doesn't just cut the power, it sends a stop signal to all decoders. So if you've got locomotives with stay alive, especially very good stay alive, that could run on by hitting the track power button, emergency stop will just tell them to stop instead and leaves the track power on. 6 buttons you got down here. We're on the panel drive already. Handset drive, if we go on there, that takes you to the 4 possible handsets A to D that you can plug into this unit, and then you can allocate locomotives to them. We haven't got any handsets plugged in at the moment, but I can still assign things by tapping on the loco button just here and keying in the number that I want to give to it. If I want to give it number 9, there it is, number 9, and now number 9 is assigned to A. However, there's no handset plugged in to control it yet. Accessory control, this is the area that's going to have a massive overhaul. If I go on it at the minute, this has still got the previous way of showing, which is just a simple select the accessory number and then change it from normal or on to reverse or off, and flick between, which is fine if you've only got a couple of accessories, but when you've got a whole layout you want to control, you need a little bit more on there. So when you go into this mode, you'll be presented with a full diagram screen. All these buttons will minimize, and then you'll be able to put on there the diagram you wish, with point symbols and assigning numbers to those points, and setting yourself up a nice little route. Some of the future things that will then come with that as well, once the LocoNet module is released, be looking at doing some sort of feedback options as well, so you can get limited automatic running and eventually build that up and build that up. What else have we got then? Decoder setup, very useful screen here. You can program on the main track, program on the programming track. One that you don't often see on controllers is this one, the check manufacturer and version of the chip. Quite a useful thing to do. If I flick my track here in the program, I just press check manufacturer, the one that's currently sitting on there, it will read the chip for you and it will tell you what manufacturer it's from. So this is Zemo electronics chip, and it's a version number 4. I can just tap to continue. Very useful programming on the ACE. Everything is in words for the most basic functions you need to adjust, rather than having to remember loads of numbers. So if I go into loco programming on here, if I want to program the address, I key the address. If I want to change the acceleration rate, deceleration rate, and so on, I just key those. And the one that people always seem to have I think difficulty with, but it's one that can be a little bit complicated, is CV29 on this is just called config, and with selectors you can change things. So if the loco is running the wrong way, you can just change the direction with a slider and it automatically works out the value for you. Same with short and long addresses you can program, quite handy. System setup is one we're going to look at in a second, because I want to show you some of the things you can do with functions. And then finally help. The help button is quite useful. It tells you the relevant help for that screen that you're currently on, and it will even tell you where to look in the manual for that information. When you tap on it, it tells you what to do, where to look, and then to continue you can just tap on whichever thing you're going back to. Where are we up to now then? So circuit boards have been designed, the diagrams, all that sort of thing, and translated into an actual printed circuit board. That now is with the factory that's going to be producing it, and once they've cleared through their backlog, as we are unfortunately in a queue, we will start getting parts here at GLR's home workshop. There's going to be a lot of parts turning up because this actual controller is going to come to us in not a fully finished state. We're going to be putting it together. So there's the screen, there's the casing itself, there's the front adhesive, there's the internal circuit boards, and then of course once we put it together we'll be downloading the firmware to it and testing each one before sending them out. So where are we in terms of time then? The golden question. Quite aware that there's been several projected dates, and due to a few issues that have come up, set back in some cases months, which is really frustrating. However, with the working prototype we are a lot closer, and we will be having a further video to give some more details, things like time, based on information from Fraser, which will cover where things are up to, the one sort of remaining big issue that he's working on, which he is hoping to clear very, very soon. As soon as we've got that in the next week or so nailed down, then there'll be another update video with some sort of more definitive information. So at the minute, I'm not going to give it will be out on this exact date, but just to say that we are getting very close to its release. So thank you for your patience in that.